Well, Ann Coulter going full speed ahead on her speaking tour despite being shouted out last night in Canada. The Conservative author forced to scrap her speech at the University of Ottawa. Police canceling the event before it got started because of public safety concerns. Those are their words. Hundreds of rowdy protesters showing up on campus ahead of the speech after Coulter was warned by the university provost about possible criminal charges if she violated Canada's hate speech laws. Susan G. Cole is a columnist for Now Toronto's weekly entertainment tabloid. She says Coulter got exactly what she deserved. Susan, thanks so much for being here. Why? Why do you believe that?
Well, I don't think that she's really an appropriate choice to be speaking on campuses in Canada. Doesn't mean she couldn't be speaking anywhere else, but our view up here is that we're trying to create an environment which is a safe place to think and learn, and I don't think that Ann Coulter contributes to that.
Well, why do you say that? Because, you know, here in the United States, and I know it's different in Canada to some extent, here in the United States we believe that the answer to speech you don't like is not less speech, it's more speech, and that's the bedrock of our First Amendment, of which we're very proud in this country. What's the argument against that in Canada?
Well, we don't have that same political culture here in our country, and that's exactly what the provost of the University of Ottawa was trying to tell Ann Coulter when he advised her that she be careful about what she said because she could indeed violate some of our hate speech laws. So here in Canada, we don't have a First Amendment. We don't have a religion of free speech. Hasn't been etched in stone for over 200 years the way it is in the United States of America. Very different. It's exactly the information she needed to know before she came.
Okay, so she gets this letter, though. I mean, she was invited to come on the campus and speak. It's not like she forced her way up to Canada and said, I will speak at this university. It was an invitation that she accepted.
That's true. That's true, and it was inappropriate for those who invited her to invite her because she wasn't going to contribute to an actual conversation. She was mostly going to provoke.
How do you know?
And I should add that, well, because she actually spoke at the University of Western Ontario in London, Ontario, the night before, and had already shown her true colors as to exactly how she was going to handle what she calls speech, including telling a Muslim student to take a camel when he told her he couldn't fly on a magic carpet, as he suggested all Muslims do, because they should be on a no-fly list. It's precisely the kind of what we would refer to as targeted speech towards minorities, which are actually unacceptable in our country. It's part of our political culture. We still have very vibrant and vital dialogue, and actually don't need Ann Coulter to contribute to that.
And I just want to point out
we
that
even have our own homegrown Canadian conservatives, to do that work for us.
Well, and I just want to point out, obviously Ann is not here. If I can just interject for a second, I'll give you the floor back. But
sure.
She's not here, of course, but I have read what she said in response to that accusation about take a camel. She said that she had made a joke. Somebody had said, why did you say that all Muslims should be on the no-fly list? And that we should instead take a magic carpet. And how am I supposed to fly if I can't? Because I don't have a magic carpet. And Ann apparently responded, you could take a camel, which Ann says was responding to what was a joke with a joke, and that was her brand of humor. My question for you, whether you think that's funny or not, is when you ask Ann Coulter to come to your university and speak, you know what you're going to get. Ann Coulter, it's not like inviting some docile, shrinking violet to your university. You know what you're getting when you have Ann Coulter. And universities here in America have done it repeatedly. She's spoken at Harvard. She's spoken at many of the Ivy Leagues. It's not like she only goes to conservative bastions to speak. The whole point is to get people to get a conversation started. Now you go ahead.
No, we don't know. It's not really a conversation. It's a set of provocations, which in my view is not a conversation. And in fact, exactly in the speech at Western, showed how she operates, and especially in response to the situation here and suggesting she's going to take a claim against to the Human Rights Commission because she's the victim of hate speech. which is ridiculous and shows her ignorance and shows, in fact, why the Provost of the University of Ottawa was correct in informing her what our laws were so she wouldn't actually make a fool of herself as she appears to be doing continuously ever since she came into this country.
Why is it so ridiculous? I mean, Susan, put yourself in Anne's shoes for 1 minute, all right? I know you don't like her. I know you don't like her. But she gets invited. But let me just finish the question. She gets invited to go up there and give a speech. She agrees to do that. She gives a speech. She's herself. She doesn't make any pretenses about who she is or how she feels. And she shows up to these crowds going crazy outside of the university, chanting some really vile things about her. Why shouldn't she have her back up a bit?
Well, I mean, I'm sure she's a little bit distressed, but actually I'm not sure that it's actually an authentic emotion that Ann Coulter is giving. I believe that what's happening now is she's taking advantage of a situation and milking it for all it's worth. I don't think she's really hurt, insulted. I think she's enjoying every minute of it, and so are the extremist free speech absolutionists who are supporting her, absolutists who are supporting her here in Canada. They're loving every minute of it. And I actually don't mind that we're having a conversation about what speech is appropriate on campus. It's a good conversation to have. It's a better conversation, actually, than I think the one Ann Coulter was bringing to our campuses. And by the way, I really think that the group that brought her to Canada could very easily have moved that lecture to another space outside of the university, and she would have been left alone. They brought her here, I believe, exactly to provoke this kind of reaction, and everybody got what they bargained for. And can I say, they're having a field day.
Well, maybe, Susan, those students are like the way we do things here in the United States. Maybe those are students who actually think the First Amendment is a pretty good thing and would like to see something like that in Canada. And the way you move towards something like that is to get the debate started. You know, I know I've read some of what they've said, and they've said, look, Canada has these very strict laws on what you can and cannot say, but those anti-speech laws are mostly enforced, according to them, against conservatives. And then when liberals come out and say incendiary things, people look the other way. And so maybe they just want to get the debate started on where Canada stands when it comes to free speech.
No, you know, it's not as if Canada doesn't have a rich political history of talking about these things. We had a Charter of Rights where all of these issues have come straight to our own courts, where we deal with them in a very, very, very rigorous way. And I actually am a little bit offended by the fact that you think we've never thought about this stuff before.
It's not that you've never thought about it. I'm saying their goal is to change things.
The absolutist free speech people's goal is to change things. That's true. They could have that conversation. It's not clear why they would have to have it on the campus, except that they knew that they were going to provoke people to have this kind of action. Have it at a conservative think tank. Have it at a lecture hall. The campus has to be a place, and there are all kinds of ways in which these things are made evident. Students sign off on all kinds of agreements as to how they'll behave on campus in order to respect diversity, equity, all of the values that Canadians really care about. And those are the things that drive our political culture, not freedoms, not rugged individualism, not free speech. It's different, and for us, it works.
It is different, not freedoms and not free speech. I mean, here in America, we had Ahmadinejad come onto the campus of Columbia University and speak, but that's us. Susan, thanks so much for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Folks, what do you think? What do you think about it? I mean, it raises some interesting questions, doesn't it? Should the university not have invited her? Should we be more like Canada here in the United States when it comes to free speech and shut down anything that we think is hate speech? Here in this country, it's allowed, unless it leads to, you know, immediate violence. There's some limitations. Anyway, email me, Kelly@foxnews.com, and you can follow me on Twitter @Megan Kelly.